Hello and welcome back to the Biweekly Playdate, and here we are. This is the final of the Biweekly Playdates. We have 4 more games to take a look at, and I'll just shut up and let you have a look at them. Our first game this fortnight is B360, and it's basically exactly what it looks like. It's a Breakout clone, but it's 360 degrees, and I'll be honest with you, I got 7 minutes in and I was done. The control is weird. You use the crank to rotate yourself around the outside here, but the movement is this smoothed out movement and it just feels odd. I don't get the precision that I want while I'm controlling the paddle, and it really doesn't help that because the game is 360, the slightest changes to where the ball hits the paddle can send it completely off in another direction, leading to this endless chain of a dozen hits that just fly everywhere on the board except for the stuff directly in the middle. It genuinely drives me insane. Again, I played 7 minutes of this and I just had enough. Even with the one chance you get on every single wall, I was still losing at least 1 life doing every level, and I felt like it wasn't my fault. I genuinely felt like it wasn't my fault. So, yeah, there you go. I did not like this one at all. Our next game is Forrest Burns, Up in Smoke. Yes, that name is meant to be a pun. It's basically a roguelike platformer, which is an interesting concept. You've got a procedurally generated line of obstacles that you need to get over. You've got collectibles you need to pick up along the way, and you need to try and finish all of these posters outside of the game, which seems to signify your completion state. However, it seems like a lot of the collectibles don't really do anything. You've got children that you can save along the way from getting burnt up by the ever slowly approaching wall of fire to your left, but that doesn't actually seem to do anything whether or not you leave them to live or die. The coins, more like the shields that you can collect, once you get 8 of them, give you an extra life, but your lives get restored every time that you end up playing another level. So it seems entirely against the point unless you had like a consistent count of lives. And there's also the puzzle pieces, of course, which you can pick up and take to the end of the level and they'll unlock posters. But outside of the posters being these slightly neat edited posters and whatnot that have like nice little animations, they don't do anything. They don't unlock any new content, whether it be obstacles, level types, or anything new to do. So you end up seeing almost everything the game's got to offer within the first couple of minutes, and it's not really that good. The platforming isn't particularly great, mainly because it feels like you're on ice all the time, but only while you're in the air. Now, I am playing this while I'm recording it with the Mirror app, so it's worth noting that the performance is a fair bit worse, and so the controls are a fair bit worse than they are when you're just playing on the Playdate by itself. But it doesn't work. It doesn't feel very good. It's not fun to play. There's nothing to unlock, and as a result, I got bored of it. Same way that I got bored of something like Whitewater Wipeout. It's a neat idea, I just wish there was more to it. And fix up those controls while you're at it. Battleship Godios is basically a scrolling shooter. These spaceships have cores, your bullets bounce, and you need to try and find the core and shoot it. If you get shot, you get the opportunity to rewind time in order to more or less save yourself, but it does cost you a life. If you run out of lives, you die, and you have to start the entire game from the beginning again. There's a couple of things that are really frustrating about this game, though. Mainly how they have to... The bullets are limited. You need to pick them back up after you shoot them, which is incredibly strange. They also come out of you from the bottom right corner of your ship. So you need to bounce them in a way that takes that into account. And it makes the game feel, just from second to second, incredibly odd. And it can make it actually kind of hard to finish any particular level or whatnot, especially when you've got to deal with things like running into these ships in order to try and actually set up a shot. And I gave this a little bit more time than I did something like B360, but after learning that I had to play through the entire game again in order to get back to where I was, I just kind of gave up on it. Because I kind of hate games that do that don't even give you like a continue option or whatnot. So it just doesn't feel that fun to play. Also the audio is kind of awful. Especially since the majority of the audio is going to be the bullets bouncing against walls and making that shrill noise every single time. And when you've got multiple of these shots and you're using them all in one go to try and take out an enemy battleship core, it just sounds awful. So yeah, did not get along with this one either. The final game on the Playdate, and absolutely the highlight of the fortnight, is Ratchet. And it's basically Zelda, but set underground and it's really dark. Like, genuinely. The world design, the enemy design, the dungeon design, the item design, it's all just Zelda. Like, original Legend of Zelda, right down to the bone. And I'll just be honest with you right off the bat. I never really get into these games. I've played a ton of them in my life, including multiple Zelda games. and I just never got along with this format. I don't know what it is, I guess it's just not my personal taste. With that said though, this game is actually good. I am willing to say that this game is good. The presentation is really well done. I like the way a lot of these sprites animate. The audio is also really good as well. Some of the best audio I've heard on the Playdate's first season. And on top of all of that, the gameplay actually has some really interesting ideas going on, like needing to swap between the lantern and the other sets of tools, although that is honestly kind of annoying after a while. And you know they kind of gave up on trying to make it work when they put you in a room that requires combat to the point where they just give you this big light in the middle of the room so that you can actually see what you're doing. With that said though, I can kind of understand why they went the way that they did, because there's a lot going on here. There's a fair few different items that you need to swap between constantly, and the game does pause when you hold the B button to access your inventory, so I'm willing to give them a little bit of a break about it, because they're clearly trying to push a little bit further than the Playdate's control scheme was meant to. I will just say that, yeah, it can be kind of annoying to control. But it's got everything it needs to be good, honestly. It's got interesting puzzle designs. It's got a lot of neat little tools. It's got a backstory telling you about the world hidden in pretty much every house you go into. And the whole light mechanic is kind of neat, especially since there are things that need it and things that don't need it, and how you use the light ends up being a nice and little clever puzzle. There's very little wrong with this game that isn't something to do with the control scheme. I just found myself not being able to get into it, but if you are even remotely capable of playing like Zelda-style games, this would probably be fine, because it matches those games to a T and it does a pretty good job at it. This is definitely the longest gameplay I'm going to give you in this video to try and meet that 40-minute mark, but I also really like this game, so I'm going to give it a lot more time than the other games in this video. With that said, we'll be back after this video to give you just a little bit of the final thoughts about the Playdate itself. And with that, we come to the end of our 24 games. So, what do I think of the Playdate experiment as a whole? And that's basically what it is, right? It's an experiment. Not many people have tried this before. We've had like retro handhelds, we've had like little bundles of originally developed games, but this being its own original handheld with its own original games with a weird crank on the side, it was such a neat idea. And to be fair, a fair amount of that still shines through. It was nice for the 10 or so hits that I got while I was playing the console. It's kind of nice to hold, but a little bit sharp, and it can be a little bit annoying to hold after a while, but I do have absolutely massive hands that could slap the crap out of someone. And I do like the crank. The crank is a neat idea. I just wish more people used it in unique ways that wasn't just replacing something you could probably control more comfortably with a digital button setup. But overall, I probably wouldn't recommend this to people. Just like straight off the bat. It is a weird idea, don't get me wrong, and I do like bits about it. It's just the 250 bucks I paid probably won't be worth it for most people. And unless they do another season, I'm not entirely sure I got my money's worth out of this either. Especially since when I ended up factory restoring it because I had a problem with the way a game was trying to install, it reset my entire season progress. That ends up being a really big issue as well. But I don't know, it's weird. And there is a lot of community support coming out for this. And there is an app store coming for it. And there hopefully is going to be a season 2. And I will probably be around for that because what the hell else am I going to do with this thing, right? With that said, yeah, I would not recommend this to someone just right off the bat. It's a little bit too expensive. It doesn't come with that many great games on it. You might get along better with some of the games that I didn't like, but at the same time, I just find it to be a bit too niche, a bit too weird. But at the same time, I can still appreciate that, and while I do think it's a bit expensive for what it is, I don't regret buying it, and I hope that more games come out for it that will help provide a little bit of extra value. I don't really have much else to say on the matter if I'm being perfectly honest. You've seen the last 24 games go by in the last 6 videos, so with that said, this has been Blue Maxima, and I'll see you on Friday.